So anyway, let's talk about pool cues, because I get a lot of questions about pool cues, about what everybody's using, what kind of tips they're using, and carbon fiber versus wood. And Jim, you're the only one you're still using a wooden cue, right?
That is correct.
Okay. I know at one point you were kind of shopping around. You were looking at.
Yeah, I'm still in the market right now. I've looked around. I haven't used the Mucci that Chuck has, but I've used pretty much not all the other ones, but the major carbon fibers. But right now I'm a Cuetec guy.
Mm-hmm.
The Synergy right out of the box. The guy that does my tips, he has a pretty much a shop in his house. He's got an 8-foot table, and he let me demo it. He goes, it might take you a while to get used to. Some people never get used to it. Some people it takes a week, a month. And I'll tell you, right out of the box, I was.
Feels good, don't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
I'll say Mucci. I think I'm pretty. I don't really. From what I've seen, they're not really too much different. I mean, they're pretty much the same material and everything. So.
Right. And I never thought I would ever use carbon fiber. If you watch my channel, I tested out the Revo for 2 hours, and just kind of, it was like going into a movie that you expect to hate. I didn't give it any. I'm like, yeah, okay, it is what it is. And then I did a negative review, and oh my God, people lost their mind.
As a player, it was my very first cue I had. I was young, so I needed money. I sold it, but I stuck with players for a while. Then I got Lacoste. I had that for a few years. I love that cue also. And then I started with Cuetec, that True Glide shaft.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a 13 millimeter, so it was pretty fat shaft. You know what I'm saying? But I still played good with it. And I had a friend of mine, loaned me his Mucci for a while with a black dot shaft.
Okay.
I played with that for a while, and when I gave it back to him, I couldn't play with the Cuetec. I just couldn't. Totally different feel, hit. It felt like I was shooting with a brick in my hands with the Cuetec. So I saved up and I got me that Mucci I got now. But I played with a black dot shaft and for a while, and then I saw your video about about the first one, of course, the review that you didn't like.
Yeah.
But then the second one, we were talking about, you really needed more if you apply a lot of English, or a lot of side spin, and then that night just kind of sold me on it. And so I buckled down and I got one. Made the wife a little mad at me though, but said, is it worth it? She said, is it magically gonna make balls for you? I said, is it worth it to you, or is it worth it to me?
I think the selling point.
But she's very supportive though, so I'm lucky.
Yeah, I think the number one selling point is that they're going to last. You're not going to feel like you want to replace your shaft. Yeah. So the carbon fiber we know is going to last longer, no matter how much we abuse it. But so, and Jim, you're using a 314 now?
I am.
Okay.
It's a Predator Icon, and I'm with 314 shaft.
Yeah,
I have it right here. With the Kamui brown, the only reason the tan is because my table's tan, and it was the black was putting black streaks in my my felt.
Yeah, I never.
I like the brown original. I used to get that one all the time. Soft.
Yeah, that brings up another point, because I get a lot of questions about tips, and I answer the same.
My opinion is if you can screw on or slide on your tip, it's not a good tip.
Yeah, forget about it.
I mean, it may work for you to hit ball for like a beginner, but if you're putting any kind of English on it, you can get you a good tip for $10.
I know, and that's the argument that I always make. I'm like, the worst tip is 50 cents, and the best tip is $20. $20 spread out over this 6 to 12 months that you're probably going to use that tip is crazy to try to be cheap about it. So I tell people the same thing. I say, you know, a tip, you know, it really depends. Once you spend over $10 on a tip, it's probably a decent tip, and then it becomes a matter of preference. But you know, everybody loves.
Well, before the Kamui, I played with an Elkmaster, and it was like $6 for them to put it on and everything. But it was beautiful, man. It was the softest tip you could get. But the problem with that is it mushroomed out a lot. You had to shape it and keep it maintained a lot, and you had to go through them pretty quick because of that.
Yeah, and that's why I said once you get over $10, $6. $6 in mushrooms, $10.
It was still good. It was still a good tip. You just had to, you know, as long as you took care of it and shaped it up. Like I said, you went through them often. So
yeah.
But then I didn't change until I went to Kamui.
I was using Mori tips for a long time. I always got Mori medium, and I don't know why I was using them, but I know why I was using medium, because I was putting in so many reps that they just lasted longer. But Jim, do you use a soft tip or
I use it. I have a medium, a clear medium right now.
Okay.
I'm thinking I may change to a soft, but I don't know. I just like the feel of a medium, but the Synergy I tried has a soft tip on it, and I really like the feel of it. So we'll see.
Yeah, the
super soft I think just was a little bit just a hair bit too soft. So I should
I think I could go super soft.
Yeah, I read somewhere, I think it was on one of the sites, it was either on Cuetec or Predator, where they were suggesting the soft tip for the carbon fiber, because the carbon fiber was so stiff that the soft tip kind of offset that. So I got Kamui black on all my cues, and you know, took them in. I had I think 3 different shafts done, which was probably a bad idea, because 2 of those 3 I'm probably not going to use in the next 6 months, and the tip will get dried up, and I end up replacing them again. And
yeah,
but
I'm about due for another one here. It's about time.
Yeah. Well,
now, there was one thing I want to say to the viewers was a lot of times when you are a beginner, and you even if you're in leagues, tournaments, and you want to get better, and you start going through these changes of learning different things, your game is going to suffer, but you have to fight through that, because a lot of people, they'll get to that point and they start losing, or things ain't working out, and they'll quit. If you fight through it, you know, you eventually, your training will kick in.
Right.
You'll start, you won't have to think about, oh, I got to stand like this, or I got to hold my stick like this. You just get in there and you just naturally do it. It's second nature to you then. But keep your practice room only. Say, you know, because when you're in a match, just play your game.
Yeah.
Practice should be in the practice room. But, you know, like you said, you know, how I practice like I'm in a match.
Right.
That's why it looks so, I keep my patterns so tight, because, you know, to me, I'm playing Shane Bamboni when I'm practicing. I don't care who or what. If I'm in a match, you know, they're Shane Bamboni to me. You know, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I play just as hard no matter who I'm playing.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because I give virtual lessons online to guys. We do it on Zoom, and I had a guy that, you know, was really learning a lot of stuff, and is basically on what you were just saying. I mean, he's an APA 3, and you know, he's like, oh yeah, this is great, and this is great, and this is great, and then the week after his first lesson with me, he goes and he loses his match, and he said his coach was teasing him, well, you better go back to Brian and get some more lessons, and I told him, I said, you know, what we learn, what I teach you, doesn't translate to a match the next week, because I don't want to be in your head. I don't want you worrying about your stance and your stroke and your eye pattern and stuff like that during your match. So he kind of got away from it. I said, those are 2 different things. You have to develop that muscle memory on your own, on the practice table. You shouldn't be thinking about it in your match. And so the
Well,
next week you want.
I'm talking about my own experience also. You know, I went through a whole probably a year period where I was just getting my butt kicked because I couldn't figure out why, because I just realized later on my game was changing.
Yeah.
And when after the change took over, you know, I jumped up a whole big level. But you got to get to that change. I mean,
Yeah, it's obviously not going to happen overnight. We wish it would, but like you said, Brian, you're going through some things. It's a transition period. You know, you're going from, you know, where you're at now to where you want to be. And that, you know, if it was a 2-day thing, we'd all do it.
Right. Yeah. But that's the cool thing about being a beginner. If you're a beginner, and, you know, I try to give guys a gauge to, you know, a way to reference their growth. But yeah, it's when you're a beginner, you can, you know, a guy can watch your video, Jim, and at the end of the video, just based off of a couple different tips or watching Chuck run patterns, just based on that, a beginner can go from here to here.
Oh yeah.
But but when you get, you know, when you get to this higher level, going from here to here even is tough. I mean, it's because you can't just fix something overnight. And,
a lot of it's mental.
Yeah, but yeah, and it's so I think that especially with beginners, if they start looking at some of the simple things, like when we're teaching them patterns and you know, just different shots. I mean, it's unbelievable how many people I run into that. First off, there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of APA 4s, and I know some 5s that can't draw the cue ball back, you know, 4 feet. But you just get a draw shot in your game and you can improve 20%, 25%. I mean, I
was watching a webinar tonight. I won't mention who, what, where, how, but one of the Q&As was how do you perform a stop shot? You know, and this was a pretty high level webinar, and some of the viewers were stating, how do you perform a stop shot? You know, we just take that for granted.
Yeah, and because there's shots you don't know. Also, as an advanced player, sometimes there's shots you don't know you don't have. And you know, I was playing very well, you know, gambling and everything, and had a session with Mike Massey, and he had me shoot basically a forced follow shot. And now, I mean, this is going back, you know, more than 10 years ago, but he had me shoot a forced follow shot, and I didn't have it in my game. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I've been going through life without this one shot. And it didn't occur to me that I needed, because how often do you shoot a forced follow, really, you know? And, you know, but it's like a guy that plays in the NBA and he doesn't have an 18-foot jump shot, but he makes it, he does a good job, everything else. And that's what I was doing. I was compensating somehow, but.
Well, because like you said, he doesn't need the 18-foot jumper. He can go in and do anything else. You didn't need the force follow. You could do everything else.
Right. But it's just amazing how many people don't have a shot. Like you were talking about the stop shot. And one of my early videos was on how to do a stop shot, and it got a gazillion views, and I was shocked. I'm like, I was just doing it because I thought, you know, maybe a couple people could get something out of it. But, you know, a good video idea for any of us, actually, maybe we'll all run and do it after this. But a good video idea is how to shoot the long stop shot. Because even people that can shoot the 12-inch stop shot can't shoot the 32-inch stop shot because they think the cue ball is going to slide across the table magically and stop for them.
I'll tell you something interesting. 2 people were talking about it. One of them was a professional, the other is not. And they were demonstrating the stop shot after this question. And the non-professional said that he saw Shane Van Boning shooting the same shot, the long stop shot, and he could not do it except 3 out of 10 times. Shane, the best, arguably the best in the world.
Yeah.
Trouble 7 out of 10 times stopping it.
Yeah, and because he found a way around it. Probably
Yeah.
didn't occur to Shane that he couldn't do it. You know, I was watching a match, and you know, I always encourage people, and I'm glad the three of us kind of have the same attitude towards trick shots. You know, we don't spend our entire lives trying to do trick shots, but occasionally we will throw one in there, which I you know, I think is a great idea. But I always encourage people not to do trick shots. You know, beginners, intermediate players, don't spend your time doing trick shots. It took us, you know, a long time to learn these shots. Sometimes it takes a long time to perform. You know, there's guys that are the greatest trick shot shooters in the world, and they'll put out a 5-minute video that took them literally 5 weeks to pull off. Mm-hmm. And people don't get it. You see the end product, but I don't have 5 weeks to do this. But there's certain trick shots that all of us do, and we take it for granted because we've been doing it for years, and we don't even think of them as trick shots. But I saw a match where even the commentators were like, well, he needs to do that trick shot where you shoot it off the rail and you jump over the ball. And I don't know how to describe it, but the ball, the cue ball was relatively close to the rail, say 4 inches or so. And the ball that he had to hit was on the other side of another ball. So basically what he needed to do was shoot it off the rail and pop it up over.
Was it Mika Eminem?
What's that?
Was it Mika Eminem?
It might have been Mika. Yeah, because it's somebody that should have known the shot. And that's when it occurred to me, you know, I'm telling people not to do trick shots, but certain trick shots will save your entire match. You know, if you can pull them off. And that was one of those. It's not a hard shot at all.
Well, my problem with trick shots and trick shot videos is a lot of the lower players think that every shot should be a trick shot. Oh, you got to be able to come off 5 rails, make 10 balls in one shot. Right. Unless if you can't do that, you're not no good. So I think they hurt the game a little bit. I mean, they're fun and nice to watch.
Or they see our videos and they think it took us one try.
Right. Yeah. I'll eventually post that one like I said, I had one I posted for, and it was all Jim's fault. It's 4 a.m. and I'm watching his channel, and he's like, "Big time, we're gonna do a trick shot."
That anyway.
And he does a trick shot, and I'm like, "What?" Well, I said, "Okay, here I am. I've got nothing to do. I'm sitting watching YouTube." And so I do this, I make up a trick shot. It takes me, I think, 20 tries to pull it off. And it was some moving target thing. I put a ball sitting in the pocket, and then I threw 2 of them around off of 3 rails. And then I had to hit each one individually to come back around and try to make the 2 balls and leave the cue ball on the table. So I'm trying to make 2 balls, and 2 balls are moving at the same time, and I'm going off of 3 rails, and after about the 10th try, I said, "What is this even possible?" But yeah, beginners, like Chuck said, beginners and intermediate players that are running around trying to do a trick shot that they saw on somebody's channel, that's practice time. That you should be learning how to run racks,
Or how about this? If you ever made a trick shot, you're just trying to get warmed up, do it perfectly, and it takes you 20 more tries to get it again on camera.
Oh, yeah.
If you just have it rolling the first time.
The part of YouTube that nobody sees is when you do something great. You're playing against the ghost, because I had this happen to me just 2 weeks ago. I'm playing against the ghost. I'm making a 10-ball video. I run 3 racks in a row, break and run. I don't even take ball in hand. It's like everything is just falling into place. And I go over and I look at my camera. Oh, camera wasn't running. But yeah, people don't see that on YouTube. Is all the videos that, the camera wasn't running, the sound was messed up, or, So I thought at one time I would always have 2 cameras going at the same time just in case that happened, but I haven't done it.
On average, say you rack up 10 games of 9-ball, how many of those games would be a break and run? I'm at 4. They might not be consistent in a pack, but I'm 4 out of 10 usually.
And I'll tell you what, if you're breaking and running 20% of the time, you're in the top 5% of amateurs.
Oh, for sure.
Because a lot of guys, you know, I reference, I don't know if I even put the video out yet because I got a couple on my computer that I haven't put out yet, but I reference the golf analogy that this guy that wrote the book, Zen Golf, which is a great book, by the way, for pool players, for everybody. But in Zen Golf, he talks about how less than 5% of players ever play, you know, play at par or better. And I would say that the odds are the same with amateur pool players. Most guys go there, you know. My cousin, who's been playing for 30 years, been playing 8-ball for 30 years, called me very excited because he ran a rack of 8-ball. And I said, well, I kind of do that every day. He said, I never did it before. And I'm like, I don't remember you ever doing it before. I guess you haven't, you know, but you forget that there's a lot of people that never have. So
yeah, but how much time does he put a day or a week into the game? You know, he's been playing for 30 years, but is it a Saturday night at, you know, wherever?
Well, he's got a table, but he doesn't put in the kind of time, you know, that we would.
Brian, what do you think your best? No, let me rephrase that. What is your favorite game? Not your best, your favorite game.
My favorite game is straight pool. That's my favorite game.
There just ain't enough players that play that around here. Yeah. I've never even played a pool match of that. I've had a guy teach me a little bit, but there's just not enough players. It's kind of like one pocket. You know, if you want to go into a pool hall and want to play one pocket, you can't really hardly find nobody.
But there's a spot called Royal Billiards here, and everybody in there is an old school player. And I can't get anybody to play 8-ball or 9-ball with me in this place because they want to play one pocket and they want to play straight pool. And I grew up playing.
I'd love it there.
Yeah, I grew up playing straight pool. And so I was very excited to, you know, I mean, it's been years since I've been going there for a long time now, but I grew up playing straight pool, watching Mosconi and all of those guys. And I just love it. It's not my best game though. It's not my best game because I don't play good straight pool safes, and I don't play good straight pool strategy. And my weakest.
Because in straight, you know, in 9-ball, you play a safe. It's one ball you play safe against.
Exactly.
Straight pool, you're playing safe against all the balls.
Yeah. Kind of like 8-ball. Yeah, it's hard to play safe in 8-ball a lot of times because there's just so many balls. I mean, you have to freeze them on the backside of a ball away from their, you know, away from all their balls. But one pocket I'd say was my favorite, strategy-wise and everything. I mean, you can't get no more closer to chess than a game of one pocket.
Yeah, and one pocket gives me a headache. They play one pocket at this pool hall, and between remembering that I'm getting in position for this one pocket and also remembering that I'm playing safe so that he can't make a shot in case I miss this shot. Oh man, just a couple
mind game.
I get a headache.
The secret always try to put the cue ball back in the stack if you're not running out. You got the stack there. It's the best place to get the cue ball at. Yeah. Even if they got a ball in their pocket and you're shooting towards your pocket, you know, if you can put the cue ball on the back side of the stack, you know, they have to kick, do whatever.
Yeah.
My video on one pocket, it really didn't do me justice because I'm a better player than that, but I'm playing by myself. Like I said, I forget what pocket I'm shooting at sometimes, you know.
Right.
I'm 8-ball all the way.
I knew it.
So that's your favorite and your best?
Favorite and my best.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I just say it's my weakest. I said this on a podcast before. It's my weakest game. I'm not saying I'm not good at it. I'm not saying, you know, but I know me as a player, you know, I'm not going to play as well as the other games.
Right.
I like it because, I mean, it's a thinking man's game. You know, you see your patterns run out. Now, you see your patterns in 9-ball, but they're written for you. You know, 1 to the 2, 2 to the 3, 3 to the 4. 8-ball, there's different options to get on different balls and things like that. So it's a really, you know, you want to talk about a chess game. It's not as much as a straight pool or anything like, or one pocket or something, but, you know, it is a thinking man's game in my
I mean, it gets challenging. I mean, my problem is there's always one or two balls that you just can't get to no matter what you do. I'm talking about, you know, it's got 5 other balls like tied up there, and you just can't get to it, man. And you know, if you can't break it out while you're running, then, you know, you're stuck.
You know, that's another thing about this game. You know, your rear end's in a chair. There's not much you can do. You know, it's different than a lot of games. You know, you can name any game out there. You have a stake in it. But, you know, pool, billiards, your butt's in the chair. You just watch.
And that's because we're playing really good players. You know, if you're playing, I always joke. I had a list. I always make these lists. I had a list how to find the weak players in the pool hall without watching them play. And so one of them was if guys are calling out balls by color, red ball in the corner. You don't even have to see them. You know, guys that don't know the 3 is red, and you know. So that was one way. But guys that you talk about sitting in the chair, guys that, especially college guys, you see this a lot with college guys, they don't bother to sit down. So when they miss, they stand there right next to the table because their friends have never made 2 balls in a row. So why go and sit down? You can tell a guy has been playing with skilled players, if he misses, he goes and sits down. No, what do you guys think is worse? Showing up and never getting to shoot and lose, or showing up and you got your chance and you lost? You know, what makes you feel the worst?
Well, like I said, if somebody keeping in my chair, I actually enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just to watch, you know, a great player. I mean, I usually take it like this. I do people like that all the time myself. So when it happens to me, you're going to have, you know, you're going to be able to have to handle that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to happen to you. You're going to get your butt kicked every once in a while. It's inevitable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I show up and Shane runs me all night and I don't move, okay. But if I'm playing Chuck and he starts doing that, we're going in the bathroom. We're going to have a conversation.
You know, I used to be like that. I used to get really upset because, you know, I'm trying to show people I got to, something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got beat, you know, I used to throw a little hissy fit, you know, throw my case down and stuff. But, you know, I watched a match between Efren Reyes and Johnny Archer.
Yeah.
It was where Johnny lost a lag, and he's sitting there for about 3 or 4 racks while Efren runs these racks on him. And Johnny's just sitting there. And then Johnny, he finally misses, I think, after the 3rd game. Then Johnny comes back and puts like 3 or 4 games together. And then finally he misses. And then Efren gets up and I think finishes out the rack. But, you know, I got thinking, you know, Johnny's sitting there. He just lost a lag, and, you know, he's down 3-0 just for losing a lag. You know, and you can't, you know, play a good game when it's your turn at the table unless you stay calm.
Right.
So after that, I started calming myself down because even if you're in a hole, say you're, you know, 3-0 down or race to 5, you could still come back up as long as you keep your composure.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I didn't have no coaches growing up. I had videos and watching the older people that played. So, so most of what I'm self-taught. I had a buddy of mine. He taught me English, and Bang Time talked to him the other day. He's kind of a crazy guy, but you know, but basically all he taught me was English: top, bottom, left, right. You know, where to hit the ball.
How bad did you beat him?
We actually did pretty good. Like I said, he's probably like a low B player. He's not he's not anything. It's not that he knows that he's not doing this, that, and the other right, but he just don't care to make it better.
It's always very interesting when you pass the teacher. You know, that's a great moment.
Oh,
Jim,
he
did you
brags
ever-
all the time. Hey, everywhere we go, I taught him how to play. We're going to the pool hall, we playing. Like, yeah, I taught him everything he knows.
Yeah. Jim, did you have like any organized lessons or anything like that, or just kind of
Never.
Yeah.
No, I've had some, I want to be general about this, some older players, you know, when I'm out, especially before I had my table, you know, a practice session at pool hall, you know, I remember the one time I made a bank, and this older gentleman walked up to me and he goes, "How did you bank that? Like, what, did you just see it?" And then it all started from there, you know, and, you know, you get that knowledge from someone else, you know, and that was big.
My grandmother's friend, his name was Charlie Holland, and he had a pool table at his house, and he invited me and my cousin to come play, and he taught us, and we were 8 or 9 years old, and he would just take the time to teach us the game. Some of the things he taught us were nonsense, because a lot of old school guys have beliefs that just that don't make sense. So you don't find out until later. You know, Charlie told me to do this. I remember one of the things he told me. He said you got to use a lighter cue. You use your heavy cue for a 9-ball. I'm like, oh, okay. And I went a long time trying to figure out why 9-ball I needed a heavier cue. But I'm like, now I look back on it, I'm like, that was nonsense. What was Charlie talking about? But yeah, I remember the day that I realized that my cousin, who Charlie was working with at the same time, was still down here and I was up here, because I'm also, you know, reading books. I didn't get to practice outside of Charlie's house, but I was reading books and stuff. And then I started playing my cousin with one hand, and it drove him out of his mind, because I would just play with one hand and beat him. But then when I got to Charlie's level, and you know, I'm now going out on my own and practicing, and I just remember that moment where I'm like, I'm better than Charlie Holland. Mm-hmm.
I never understood about leagues. The only thing I'd like to say, APA, well, you can jump, but you got to use your full cue. Now, how is somebody from APA or any other league like that going to become a pro? Because they can't practice jump shots. They can't practice mass A shots.
Yeah.
So how when I go to
it is designed for the beginner player. It is designed for the low level player, and APA cannot take you to the next level. You're right, because you never shoot a jump shot. You don't have an open table after you break. I remember losing. I almost lost a match in APA. On my break, I made 4 balls on the break. All of them were low balls.
Didn't have a shot.
Didn't have a shot. Didn't have a shot. And you know, I was a 7, which is the highest you can get in 8-ball. And this young lady who was, I don't know, she was a 3 or 4. She wins the game. But I made 4 on the break because of the tables, you know. And I'm like, I don't have a shot. So rules like that are what make the APA, you know.
But you explained why you can't jump and why you can't masse, because it's designed for the beginning player. You don't want a beginning player jumping. It was just covered last week.
Yeah.
But so what? You know, at a certain level, a level 7 isn't an amateur player, though.
Right.
Most, you know. Yeah.
But what they're not gonna put different stipulations because you're a 632 or 623 Fargo versus a 425.
But they should. I mean, they kind of should. I mean,
well,
you know, somebody that can't jump.
Another league.
Yeah. What the APA does have. What the APA does have is a master's division, and in the master's division, you can use your jump cue, you can masse, you can do everything in the masters. The problem with masters is that only about 5%. I actually said this in a video the other day. I don't think I put it out there yet, but only about 5% of APA players are in that 7 level. And the Masters is like where all the sevens go when they get frustrated playing on the crappy tables with the crazy handicaps. So in the Masters, you can do everything, but the problem is to have a good Masters division, you got to have a lot of good players. So you need about 25 or 30 decent players in your little community to even put together a Masters team. And you got to have a good pool hall that's going to let you guys play there. But I did play the Masters for, I think, about 3 years in APA, where you could do anything you wanted. And, it was real pool. You played 8-ball and 9-ball. But, the standard APA is designed for, it's designed for the 3 and the 4. Just the fact that you're playing on bar boxes neutralizes the skill levels right there. What is your favorite video that you've done for your channel that you would want people to tune in and watch?
My 8-ball patterns and run. Because I break down the whole rack. I'm explaining you exactly what's in my brain as far as what ball I'm going for, why I'm going for that ball, what I'm doing with the cue ball, and basically, my pattern of thought on it. You to try to put people, and instead of just making a ball here and a ball there, thinking about the whole table. Let yourself change up if you don't get perfect, but have you a path and try to execute it.
Okay. How about you, Jim?
Yeah, I think along with Chuck, I've made a few of them. I call it a point of view, POV pool. And that's me, how I'm thinking. I've done 9-ball, 8-ball. I think I might have even done 10-ball. What I'm thinking of, position playing. I try to get the English that I'm using as well. I, move my camera and things like that and try to get, it would be nice to have a little GoPro, but, not there yet.
I know my favorite of yours, Brian.
What's that?
My video.
That was good.
It was good. I want to touch on the GoPro thing for a moment, though. You mentioned the GoPro. One of my things, because I get people in the comments, they're like, "Oh, can you wear the GoPro and show us where you're hitting the ball?" And I've got, equipment all over the place, all kinds of equipment. So I do have the GoPro capability. One of my concerns about the GoPro is, so each of us has a gazillion years and gazillion hours shooting pool, and most of our, not all, but most of our viewers are intermediate to lower intermediate. I mean, I've got some guys that obviously are really good players that are watching my channel, but my answer is always the same about the GoPro. Is if you hit the cue ball where you see me hitting the cue ball, forget about it. You put, let's say an intermediate player is putting the same English that myself or you guys are putting on a particular shot, it's not helping them. They're not compensating for the throw. They're not compensating for deflection. They're not compensating for curve. There's a lot of things that they're not compensating for, and that doesn't show up in the GoPro shot. So if you shoot,
I tried to make a video of what amateurs should start doing as far as the drawback, but my camera angle, I couldn't get it because all I got is my phone, and it's really hard to get a good close up on the ball I'm hitting. I'm using the 9-ball. Okay, when you're starting off your drawback, learning how to draw the cue ball back, of course you always got to keep your stick level. When you strike the object ball, which is, would be the 9-ball, which is acting as the cue ball, put the circle up there and hit it just below where the circle, at the bottom of the circle, not all the way down at the bottom of the ball,
right,
where most people start. You just start like a half a tip below center. Start hitting it there, and just watch, and get comfortable doing that, and watching it just stop shot a little bit back, and then go a little bit lower the more you get comfortable with it until you are hitting it at the bottom.
Yeah, and Brian, you use some extreme, some of your draw shot videos are pretty impressive. So you have a great draw stroke.
Well, thank you. But yeah, if I put that on a GoPro and Joe APA4 tries to hit the cue ball there, it's flying off the table.
Yeah.
So when I give lessons, I tell guys all the time, like Chuck just said, you build up to that lower shot that where you're hitting it that low. You have to build up to that.
This is a Brian Mitchell production.